Hey, Mike, what do Kelly Slater and PT have in common?
I don't know. They're both world champs?
Nope, they both own Endless Summer box set.
Oh my God, rad. You guys, you can get it too. The link's in the show notes. Hey, this is Mike with the Quivercasts, brought to you by quiverbuilder.com, an online community where you buy, sell, and surf for your next magic board. All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Mike with the Quivercast, and we're at the Chem Factory, Chemistry in Oceanside, sitting down with Jason Bennett.
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me, Mike.
Yeah, I'm super stoked. So Jason's going out of his day and talking to me for a little bit about just him and surfing. So Jason, how did you start surfing?
It was around me since a young age. My father surfed, and he was a longboarder, and he just had me at the beach. He was the type of dad that would work his 9 to 5 or 9 to 4, whatever. And I remember always the earliest memories of surfing would be like him getting off work, and right before dark we'd go run down and surf. And so, yeah, pretty much since I've been like 4 or 5 at the beach surfing, and my father got me into it. Yeah.
So 4?
Pretty young, you know.
Do you remember your first wave?
I don't remember my first wave. I did. What I do remember is he used to take a group of like 4 or 5 of my buddies around the neighborhood down to Doheny.
Okay.
And he would push us in. Obviously you surf Doheny, so you know Boneyard's right next to the jetty for the Groms. It's a great little wave. He would take us all down there, load up his car, and he'd push us all in the waves and, stand up, whatnot. This is probably like 82, 83. Okay. And I just remember I don't want you pushing me anymore. And I just I remember paddling out and getting my own waves that day. I don't remember what I did on the wave or which wave I caught or how I caught, but I remember saying I don't want him pushing me anymore, and I went out and caught my own waves. Little white waters, yeah. So at a young age, started surfing, and to reiterate that, my father got me into it.
So then how long did you and your dad go together, all through the teenage years?
Yeah. Well, my father passed away when I was 15, so that was just turned 16.
And that's why they're Surf of the Seas, just a side note?
Yeah, okay. Side note. So, early teenage years, he was always taking me. He was like the dad that would take a lot of the kids around Oceanside to the beach. If you could ask guys my age group, a year, 2 years older, about my dad, and they know him well. He was very liked around here. He would always, pick up whoever needed to and drop off whenever, whatever, even if it was out of the way. It didn't even have to be on the way home. He would just grab a group of us, and like I said, it started at a young age in Doheny, and then up here in Oceanside he did the same thing. So just remember him always taking us to the beach. And then, obviously, like I was saying, my dad passed away when I was 16.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, it was a hard one, but I kept me. I still wanted to surf, obviously, it was a really hard time, but I was really motivated after he passed away to keep what he put into me, the motivation he had for me to, going to the beach. So, whatever it took. I was on the bus all the time. Whatever, I'd be waiting half an hour for the bus after school, and whatever it took, I was getting down to the beach.
Wow. That's kind of a heavy story.
Yeah,
but it's a cool story.
Yeah, I could go more in depth than that, but it was a very, very sad time in life, but also a very motivating time because of right prior to that, my dad was taking me to contests on the weekend. He was very involved in my surfing, and
so did that push you to excel, or
as I got at a young age, I didn't think it did, but now I look back and I how did I get here to the current day? And obviously I owe everything to him, 110%, everything he instilled in me, how he treated people, how motivated, all that, and I try to pass that on as much as I can to my son, to my friends, to the Groms around. But so to reiterate that again, he was a big motivating factor, and looking back, I was like, I wouldn't have been here today without what he's done in my early years of my life.
Now you have a kid and he surfs, right?
Yeah, I got a son, Paulo, and he surfs. He's like a Grom. He's not really, really into it. He's been surfing since he's been 4 or 5 because I was a single father at that time, and I want to surf on the weekends or when I had him. So he's been in the water with me ever since he could remember. He loves surfing, but it's not like his number one thing he's into. And I kind of let him be a kid, let him do what he wants to do. And we surf, once, twice a week together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's into it.
Other sports or skateboard?
Yeah, he likes to skateboard. He likes he's all into like fashion, shoes, and gear and music. Yeah, but I told myself having. When I first had my son, that I was, obviously let the kid find his own path. Like, I wasn't going to try to make a path for him. I've introduced him to a lot of things that I've been into.
Yeah.
See where he takes it. I'm just not going to be that dad that's pushing him or something he doesn't want to do.
You're not making him go to.
No, I'm not worried about him getting that was my path. Like, I wanted to be sponsored. I wanted to win contests. I'm a competitive kid. He doesn't really have that in him, so I'm not. I've tried in the beginning, like, to put him in a couple contests, and he's told me, I don't really like competing, Dad. I just like to surf and have fun with my buddies, and I'm like, that more power to you. So he's.
And how old is he now?
He is 11.
Okay.
Yeah. So
he's still early. He could change his mind.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like in the industry that I'm in, dealing with I don't know if I'm even up for it. Like if he wants to go down that path, I'm almost like, that's that career path is a short-lived one. So it's like I'm gonna kind of push him, away from the surfboard and surf industry.
So you're stoked if he just paddles out in North County once a week and you guys have fun.
My main thing is as we grow and get older that we're able to go on trips here. Like, hey, you want to go to Indo for 2 weeks?
Right.
And he's an avid surfer where he could handle going out on a decent day, and that would make it for me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you're not the, there's plenty of, I don't know, some of these kids where their dads were good,
right,
or in the industry,
right,
they kill it now,
right.
I mean, but
I think that's in any sport, or whatever, a father's into.
Baseball player probably
they pass that on to their kid, and
some
the kids
gotta, some don't.
Yeah, the kids gotta want it, It's hard to keep pushing the kid into something they're not 100% into, you know.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day,
backfire.
You totally backfire. I agree. You're competitive surfing. So your dad passed away,
right?
And then you said. So and you kept doing more.
Well, I probably started surfing. I started surfing contests probably around 12.
Okay.
12, sixth grade.
Okay.
I won a local I didn't do any contest, but I joined the surf team at Roosevelt Middle School.
Sick.
And it was the first year of the surf team at Roosevelt.
Okay.
Anyway, they had a contest down at 6th Street, which is now Surf Rider Way.
Yep.
And it was against all the other schools, and I ended up winning it. And I just remember I was like, wow, I actually as a kid, you always, you indulge in all kinds of sports, and I was always decent, but never that good. I'm like, well, I won this. This is the best thing I've ever been at.
Yeah.
So I was like, it gave me that motivation and the security, oh, wow, I could do this. And then since then, I remember not a lot of people, but a couple of the guys at the contest were going up to my father, hey, your son's really good. You should look into getting him to the NSSAs or the WSA at the time. And then we explored that, and I remember my dad's like, hey, you want to do it? I'm like, sure. Remember doing it, and the first year I lost every heat first round, and I was just going against all these kids from all these other beach cities, and I'm just like, I've got to put in some work. And then the next year, everything just clicked. I remember making one heat. And I was always the young kid in the older divisions because where my birthday fell. So I was always going against these older kids that surfed really well, had sponsors. I wasn't sponsored at the time. And I remember I made one heat, and that just turned it. And I just started making every heat, started making finals, and that year I started winning contests. And then by the time I was 15, I was national boys champion. And this, what was that, 93 at Trussell.
Was that Explorers and Open?
Explorer boys, yeah. So by that, and he was still alive up to there. So he was very pivotal to me getting to that point.
Yeah.
And he was, taking me in every contest from, down Torrey Pines to Pismo, and running me around. Wow. Yeah. So, and then I just he passed when I was 16, like I was saying, and it just motivated me really, really, 100% full force, to keep going, and
Yeah.
And then I continued to, start winning open men's contest, and then won some pro-ams, and then went on.
So how far did you go? And then
I
turned pro?
I turned pro when I was 18. I remember Chewy Reyna gave me my first check from Dragon Optical, and when they first started, and it was $50 a month or $75 or something like that.
Yeah,
and I and I was like, wow, I guess I could make money doing this. And that same year I won this pro-am. It was the 54th Street pro-am up in Newport. They did every year. It was Rusty sponsored at the time. Okay. And I won it. I made $1,500. I remember I bought myself bought myself a plane ticket. I moved to the North Shore for like 4 or 5 months that year.
Wow.
And
$1,500?
Well,
you had more money saved.
I mean, I saved some money. I was delivering pizzas for like the last prior 2 years of that.
Okay.
So I was delivering pizzas, and I saved some money up, living at my mom's, obviously.
Yeah.
And I won that contest, and with whatever I had, I moved over there with all my shit for 4 or 5 months and put in some work. And
so did that help you, North Shore?
it did, yeah, because that year I had some good friends over there, the Joe family, which is June Joe and Yosuke Joe,
Okay.
and they had a place, and they're like, you want to rent a room? I'm like, yeah. And when I went over there, it was like me, June, Yosuke, and he had Andy Irons in one room. It's right when he turned pro because we were the same age. So Andy was at the house at the time, and seeing like how he was approaching everything with boards and how far ahead of it he was than all of us too, like how much gnarlier.
Was he?
Way gnarlier than everybody. Yeah,
Really?
just like what all of our age group was doing and what he was doing at that time. But it motivated me, the fact that I was around all the, Bruce was come over, and Bruce was younger than us, and who else? McCullough Jones. There's just a bunch of kids my age around.
What year is this?
This is so I graduated in '96, so this was a winter of '90. It'd be winter of '96.
Okay.
Winter of '96, '97.
Okay. Plus all the other pros were there?
I mean, obviously, they go there every year.
So you paddling out like pipe? Or
I was surf pipe, yeah. So I worked my way up, but we were staying right at backyards, so I, surfed a lot of sunset backyards. And then, the guys stay with June like to surf like off the wall and backdoor a lot, so we'd surf a lot of backdoor off the wall.
Travel a little bit?
It had a driver, we'd ride bikes over there and whatnot, but that was pivotal for sure, where like, I remember coming home, and I think 97, 98 was an El Nino winter here. And I remember coming home, and it was bombing here, but it was like, I remember I was like, well, it was, a couple guys out in the pier, and I'm like, nah, this is nothing compared to what I was just put into,
Yeah.
It would be the 97, 98 year.
So, good.
No, yeah, that winter was really good around here, because I remember it was a year after.
So it was good there, too, then?
It was, I think I put that winter in there in Hawaii, and then I came home like springtime because I stayed later, and then I surfed the winter here, half the winter, that El Nino winter, then I went back over there. And I do that every year, go back over.
So how many years did you do that?
I probably did that 6 or 7 years.
Sweet.
Yeah, but then you start getting burnt, obviously, Well, it's hard, like to fit into that group of people and, and to get waves.
Was it work or was it fun?
It was both, for sure. It was fun, but like it was all, there was.
Were you like trying to wake up in the morning, or eating healthy, or you?
Nah, none of us. I mean, no one was. It's not like what it was.
Tired.
There wasn't like like nowadays everybody's got coaches and they're training. Like we weren't doing that. No, we were causing.
You were your own coach.
We had no coach. We were causing mischief, going to Honolulu at night.
That's right.
But as a kid, we partied and you really didn't feel like a lot the night before at that age. So we were able to get away with a lot more back then, with physically. But I mean, there'd be days where it'd be flat for like a week where we'd run the sand and stuff like that. But that's as far as like working out, and I had a lot of fun. And there was pressure of work of like somebody paid for me to to be help me to get over here. That I got to do some stuff. For
you
that.
owed them. You felt you owed them.
You want to. This is probably later on. The first year I put all my money into it, but as I started progressing. People were, giving me money to go over there. So I want to do my job and do it well, and come back and be asked to go again. I don't want to, I don't want to be able to like, I'm not sending that kid back. He won't paddle out pipe. And that used to happen a lot. Where like there'd be guys on the teams I'd ride for.
Like well-known guys?
Well, no, I'm not going to mention names, but the guy who was our team, and he'll vouch for this, is a guy that ran the team. I rode for Billabong / Hurley at the time when they switched over. It was Paul Gomez. You probably know Paul. And he was a cutthroat. And he would always, the guy wouldn't paddle out like Porto, or he heard he pushed out a pipe. The guy he would just clip him right there, like, nah, you're done. So, rightfully so. He was not, And so he made me nervous. I told him this because he gets boards off me now.
So you were going out no matter what?
I mean, yeah, I went out. Like, I never, like, maybe one time at YMA, I was like, I'm not going to paddle out because I didn't have a big board, but I went out in some big days.
So you had an excuse.
And I kind of didn't want to, I'll be honest, I didn't want to, but I paddled out most days. Everybody else paddled out, for sure.
Okay.
Paddled a lot of days in a pipe, and You know,
I'm just talking smack from.
Yeah, when you're young and you're ambitious, and that's all you've put in your whole 16 years of your life, and you've been around it. And when you're doing something so much, you get comfortable. You're over there for a month, you start getting really comfortable. You know what I mean? And it's like anything. Like you start doing the beginning, it's like, man, I feel winded, or I don't know how to draw this or shape this. But the more repetitiveness, the repetition you do on something, obviously, you start getting used to it and getting better at it.
So, the first big swell on the North Shore. Do you remember that day?
I don't. Maybe a day. Not really. There's a lot of them backyard. Like I said, we stayed at backyards. We'd paddle out some big backyards in Sunset. Big,
Sunset's
like heavy, like big stormy, where it'd be like 2 guys out, and it was big.
Really?
Big old West Peaks in the channel and all the junk, So.
Were you fearing for your life, or was it just?
You would scratch for sure. It's just weird because I think what we were doing back then to what everybody's doing now, it's like it's like 10, I don't know, I feel like we're pushing limits compared to like what people are doing to, now. Like watching like just that last session, like a John and a Koa out at those Himalayas, that outer reef, like I'm just blown away. Those dudes are paddling that. Like there might have been a couple guys doing maybe. Yeah. We weren't doing stuff like that,
So the pros today against the pros at your age bracket.
I mean, it's a next level. I mean, just the evolution of just surfing, obviously.
It's a sport now.
It's a sport, and, people are prepared for it. There's flotation. No one had flotation stuff back then. Yeah. They're training a lot more. They're eating right. They're more in tune with
athletes.
They're athletes. The boards are...
Not that you weren't.
Nah, not that, but the boards are, way more in tune for it. Like, I mean, our boards were like knives. They were like just bladed out, rockered out, narrow. I used to ride a 6'1" for my shortboard, so... I go back and look at myself, I'm like, man, I look goofy on the boards I was riding.
So you think the boards today are way better than?
Everything's more refined. We came off I came off that Slater era where what Merrick and them introduced of like these like thin, rockered out, 18-inch wide, 5.5 inches of nose rocker, 2.5 bananas, and narrow, skinny elf shoes, and I think those things. They worked, I mean, in certain type of ways, but now we're
steeper waves,
and to be honest, I think a good surfer can make any board work. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And I think even like a decent surfer can make any board work. It's just how much time you put into that board, or in the conditions, or the fins.
But if you could have paddled in a little earlier.
Yeah. So now, I think everything's refined to dropping rockers down, widening noses, refining foils. Like everything's way more just especially in the big boards, how much more volume's packed into those big boards. They're riding shorter stuff, but they're really packed in with a lot more volume.
And so that's a benefit to the everyday surfer, or even the pros?
I think everybody, because I think there's that old saying like volume's your friend, because you want to.
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
You want to be on top of the water. If you're sinking, you're pushing. If you're like, I'm pushing water, or board feels slow, well, you're probably under volume, so your board's going underwater. That's not fun. So even if a board's thicker and you're going fast, you're gonna have a really fun time, because you're gonna get that get up and go. You might be a little bit harder turning if it was compared to a thinner board, but it's funner going fast and beating sections and not making around sections. Especially here in Oceanside, where it's like beach breaks where you want to get a combo, you want to get 2 or 3 turns, and sometimes that's hard.
So so that was a question later. Since we're here now.
Yeah, go ahead.
So just like, is there anything changing in surf boards today? Or what, so the 90s, they were super 17 and a half, 17 inches work, 17. I think I have a board, like a Chaz board I had. It was 17 and a half inches. I don't even know how.
It's crazy. Yeah, I know. I've looked at some. I have some of my old stuff.
I have some of my Raptor. I pretty much
just save. Yeah, it'd be cool. But save that type of stuff, because that will be worth,
Will it ever come back?
I mean, I think there's bits of it that has come back and that's in stuff, but I don't think that extreme, Yeah. But everything goes in cycles, right? And that's going forward, what I think is what's good about present day surfboards and surfing is how it's diverse. Before it was just like you rode this, there were shortboarders,
Right.
Maybe some longboards.
Whatever was in the movies, whatever Robin Child was riding.
Yeah, I mean there were some longboarders around, but it's mostly people were just riding shortboards. Now it's like you could have fun riding a fish, or a longboard.
You're allowed to ride anything.
It's way more diverse. It's got balance to it, and I think that's helped with high performance boards, because they've took elements of the retro stuff and put it into high performance, like dropping rockers, widening tails, everybody's on twin fins. That's a recycled bit of something that came from the 70s, and I mean, twin fins are funner. People, not all of them, but a lot of my customers have been coming in like, man, I'm just putting in 2 big old power twins in my shortboard, and I'm having a blast. You know, they're getting all that water to flow through there, so the board's going fast and it's skaty and loose, and you know, they're having fun with it. You know, and instead of like feeling like they really got to put in work with it, you know, their shortboard and thruster. You know, I don't think anything beats a thruster by hold and performance. But you know, with that middle fin, that's drag. You know, you remove that, you're getting water flushing through there, creating a lot of speed and obviously looseness. You know.
But then you got to put a bigger one on the side, though. The MR.
Well, I mean, no matter what, twin fins are going to be loose, and they're kind of like, if you haven't rode them, they're hard to control. But once you get them and you put your foot right on them, you know, you can control them.
Where you put your foot.
I always tell customers, like, you want to like put half your power into those turns because you're going to blow out on. Like, just finesse it and put half of what you would in a turn, and you'll feel it flow through. You push too hard, you're going to blow out on them.
Yeah.
And maybe blow out the fins because twins blow out all the time.
All right, let's change. So I found this like a couple months ago, actually. So I have all these old surfing and silver magazines.
Yep.
So he's on the cover. Were you on the cover? How many? One time?
One time, yeah. I had a little cover of a Transworld, like it was like a collage, but of 4 people, and I had.
I'm gonna hand this to you.
Right. Yep. This is
what's the memory of Jason Bennett on the cover of Surfer Magazine?
I remember.
Do you remember that day?
I remember it vividly.
Okay.
So this was a photographer I'd shoot with around town, Rob Key, that me and him did a lot of, pretty much through my whole career, I shot with him up and down the coast. And this was at the power plant down in Baja, and they built this little pier. It's not there anymore because they were fixing it, or they were adding on to the power plant, and it was a smaller day. There was like these little right wedges coming off.
Okay.
Super glassy, and it wasn't that great, to be honest. And we shot water. He shot fisheye, and I remember this would be pre-digital. This is film.
Yep.
So on our way back, we would stop by Chrome, which was a developed film down in San Diego.
Okay.
We'd dump the film there, and I used to be so excited to see what we got.
Right.
And I remember that day, he was like, hey, you going to go back? Because I'd always run back down and get it. So he'd drop it, take like 2 hours. We'd get back to O side, chill. I'd run down, come back. I mean, it'd be an ordeal. It'd take me a couple hours, but I wanted to see.
So you guys were a team?
I mean, we were buddies. He was like one of my best buddies, yeah. Okay. Older than me, a lot older. Okay. But kind of like a father figure in a way, like helped me out through a lot of stuff and, you know, learned stuff from the guy. Yeah. So I would run back and forth to Chrome, and I remember this day, he's like, go down there. I think I got a couple shots. I'm like, man, it was shitty. Like, there's no tubes. It's like all little wedges. Yeah. And he's like, go down there. I think I got a couple. So I went down there, developed them. I remember seeing this shot. Like, it's all right. Like, nothing special.
Yeah.
Because we used to go back to his house and look through the slides after they were developed. Nothing special. And I remember, 2-3 months later, we were having a power crisis here in California, like SDG&E. Like, things are splitting up, and they raked up the prices on everybody. But anyway, so I guess this shot came in coincide with what they wanted to run. That's why it says power surge there, and the power plant's in the behind.
It was about the time.
It was just all timing. So it was like we were, we had this shot, and I remember Chewy called me from Dragon. Chewy ran, and he's like, "Hey, dude, you got the cover. Dragon's right there." And I used to get photo incentive, right?
Yeah.
So he's all, everything's, you got the cover of Surfer. And I remember, like, you're lying. He's like, "No, dude, come." And I remember going to the Dragon office, and he showed me, and I was so hyped.
That's rad.
And I remember, like, I was all into, like, musical equipment at the time, recording equipment. I'm like, oh, yes, I'm going to make some money. I got to go buy this and that. So I was all psyched. I was, like, just thinking what I could get with the money that I was going to make off this. And it was month to month like that for me, where I was getting salary, but, like, if I got photos, that was, like, my bonuses, where I was like, yes, like, I actually go buy something cool for myself. So I really lived and died off photos in the magazine.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad, but, I mean, I don't know, it was fun.
So did you guys have a party that night?
No, I don't remember that, but I was really psyched. And obviously, as then my family, went around the whole family, and my mom was super proud and whatnot.
For sure.
Since I was a little kid, and
that's the raddest thing ever.
Yeah, I was psyched for sure.
Oh, I found this I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Hopefully, I explained it all right.
So then, I was stoked to bring it in.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. I have that at my house, my wall. It's one thing I have. I don't have a lot of my stuff hung up, but I do have that.
So since you were a pro, what do you think about pro surfing now? Like today, even though So COVID's kind of changed a lot of things
It has.
with everything in the world.
Well, it's hard because
But
I have a love-hate relationship with it all because I haven't stopped doing it. I haven't I haven't stopped. Let's see let me put it like this. Last job I worked was I delivered pizzas, and I think I stopped working there when I was 17. So since I'm 17, I'm 43 now. I've been doing surf stuff.
Yeah.
I've from pro surfing to starting this business, and so I've been the ups and downs of it all. And like I said, it's love-hate. Like
Right.
where pro surfing is, like I think there's the growth and the evolution. I love to see the videos the kids are putting out. I love to see, just how, the charging, the airs everybody's doing.
But let's say contest.
Oh.
So you're watching a WSL contest. Yeah, okay, so the pro surfing,
right?
The free surfing you're talking about.
I'm just talking about where professional surfing is today, or dealing with professional surfers,
okay.
what do you ask? Sorry, what do you ask?
So that's okay. You can answer it that way, and then I'll ask.
Like I said, it's hard because I've now doing chemistry. I've dealt with pro surfers, and you've dealt with people that are very respectful and very just good, down to earth humans, and and then you deal with shithead people that are they're entitled and
egos.
All that, where it's a turnoff where I'm like, man, I just want to build boards for the local guys or my buddies that that really appreciate them, or instead of giving some kid that I barely know 10 surfboards, 15 surfboards, 50 surfboards a year, I'd rather give 3 to my son, or my son's buddy that can't afford it, I give him a board, and so I have a rough one with it because I want to, especially local kids, I love to help them pursue their pro surfing career. Their dream, but what I've been through and what I've seen, it's I always say make sure you have a backup plan, for sure, because 1% make it, there's a lot,
probably
1%, and I think if even 1%, and it's short lived, when you're not worth anything, they're going to drop you as quick as
the next best thing.
Yes, and so it's a tricky one for sure.
Okay, so you're talking that's the up and coming pro surfer and and the guys on the back end too.
Yeah.
So what about anything else about that?
No, go ahead.
So the other way I was going to phrase it is WSL.
What about it?
So do you watch it?
I do, but I find myself watching super into it one year, and then the next year I'm I don't even care.
Okay.
I'm so in. Here's the thing with surfing with me. It's been my whole life. I'm around it all day, every day.
You burn out on it.
I'm just I go home and I let
You don't want surf posters on your wall.
No, I don't.
Did you?
I had that. Oh man, going like I said, I was that kid that I had all the surf posters on the wall.
I was the kid that had all the posters on the wall, and I was jealous of you because I had no one taking me to contests. I had the shitty boards. I
did too, though. So that's the thing.
I had to build myself.
Right. Oh, okay. So I had a supportive father, but we not coming from money. The year my dad passed away, he sold his longboard to pay my membership into the NSA that year.
That's heartbreaking.
No, so what I'm saying is
cool.
I didn't come from a ton of money. So and then after he passed, I've been on my own. So I know what it is
like. Working class server.
Yeah, man. Especially being here from Oceanside, that none of my friends came from money. There wasn't one of us. We all were either broken families, or families that were together were both latchkey kids that were just both working to try to make it. No one lived by the beach. Maybe a couple of us, but it was we were on the bus to get to the beach or whatever it took to get down there.
So the WSL, you watch it, you don't watch it.
I do because I get burned on it. Yes.
But so the man-on-man heats and the long stalls and no one catching waves, or they, I don't know. How do you feel the state of the WSL is, or just the Scholastic or any of the contests? Should
I haven't watched
the format. I guess the question is.
I think it's got a lot better. The webcasts make it entertaining, especially the waves they're at. Before, back in the 80s, early 90s, where they were having shitty waves. When they had Chopu.
It was good.
Right. So when you're watching Chopu and you're watching Pipeline and everything, and that's the thing is that's surfing. It's hard to put bunch that up and make that a sport because it's I look at it more like it's an art form. So it's really hard to start trying to get these guys a ton of waves and make fast forward it. You can't. You're dealing with the ocean. It's not like a arena. It might go flat. The tides are changing. So that's surfing in a nutshell. But I think it's got better. When I do watch it, it's really entertaining. The surfing's really good. Compared to what it was.
All right. What about like in Oceanside when you grew up? Was there like a localism, or was it pretty? Everyone was welcoming.
No, it was way. I mean, I don't know if it was welcoming, but as a kid, you did, but you knew everybody. Everybody, like, you know, kind of had like the groups, like the Buccaneer guys, and we surfed the pier, and then the harbor guys. But we'd all surf different spots. But everybody kind of knew everybody.
Yeah.
There was a lot more, you know, of a pecking order for sure. Even like you surf better than the old guys, you wouldn't paddle past them, you wouldn't snake them.
You give them respect.
You would, you know.
You think that's
and not they would yell at you. Oh, big time. Yeah. I mean, just
you can't yell at a kid nowadays.
Not even that. It's just like. And you can't blame them because it's how they're growing up. It's what they know. It's from from cameras to just how much more popular surfing is nowadays. Yeah. And people are getting older. People have stopped surfing. So it's one of those things. Either you could be that grumpy guy, or you accept the change, or you can move. But yeah, I mean, I found myself getting bummed and like. But then I always talk myself out of it. Like, you know, like. You choose to keep going to the beach every day, and what are you gonna do? Like, what am I personally gonna do? Like, try to make law and like try to be this guy, or try to be as cool as you can and try to help kids, or try to, you know, be inspiration for other people. Yeah. You know, I'd rather approach it like that because it's only around here it's getting worse in crowds and the popularity of surfing and what the city's done to the town, and you know, it's changed so much. But yeah, back like when I was surfing, like. When I first started surfing Oceanside, I think it was like 88, when I was 87, 88. And by the time it was like, you know, I was like in my early teens and like 93, 94, it was, you know, it was a tough place to, you know, grow up and surf, where you had to watch your back down the beach. I remember being dropped off and you had to hide your shit or it's getting stolen. You had to hide your shit. You had to go down there with somebody or you might get jumped. And I got jumped a ton of times at the pier.
Really?
Like, oh, yes. Had to running, then, you know, then you stop running, then you fight. But yeah, like it was
against other surfers, just like the local kids.
There's a lot more. There's a lot more gangs, you know. And
did they know you? They just wanted to beat you up, or like
there was some. There was. Yeah, I mean, stuff from school would filter to the beach, you know, stuff like that. But it was like, you know, there was groups of us. Like we hung at the pier on South Side, and every day there would be like 5 to 10 of us lined up on this curb at South Side of the pier. You know, we all, you know, that's what we did, and we knew everybody knew each other. And then obviously there were people that didn't like one of us, and that would escalate and whatnot. But I'm not trying to glamorize the negativity part of it because we were all really having a good time. Yeah, it's all good. We were having a good time. We were surfing our asses off. We were hanging out with girls at night. We were, you know,
full Southern California lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, we're skating, and then but Oceanside, and then you know, the thing was different about this town was there was always a cut around here, and there was always that like that edge to Oceanside where, you know, you could get involved in like the negativity or like, you know, like going south, like getting into like drugs or gangs and shit. And a lot of my friends did. A lot of guys that surfed started like, you know, doing a bunch of bad shit, and I don't even know them to this day. You know, I saw a lot. Like there was a paradigm shift of a group of me and my friends were like, so these guys went left and we went right, and more of them went left than right. You know.
So what about boards? So that's your business with all these new surfers. Is it helping the business?
I mean,
is it hurting the business?
Oh, we're good. I mean, as right now, this is the best year that we've had. So we're going our 19th year. It's our 19th year doing chemistry. Yeah, we've been doing it a long time. It's kind of crazy. I've been in when I look at myself, I'm like, oh yeah, I've been doing it a long time. I look at my head, I'm going bald. But I feel like I feel like it's the first day I started. Like I still have that motivation, you know.
Really cool.
I do. I really love doing what I do, and I love like the crew I'm around, and I love interacting with people. Obviously, some days are harder than others, but yeah. But going to your question, yeah, it's since COVID, it's gone gangbusters. Like our January and February, it was better than we've ever had any of our summers. Like we're stockpiled with boards. Really, you can't like put orders in fast enough, and it's crazy. So it's a gift and a curse there because then you know, like I look at it like, all right, well, obviously that my business is doing good, everybody's getting paid, you know, and I don't, going back into like monetary things, like I don't base everything around, like I'm not really.
But you still gotta eat.
I'm not really money driven. Like it's not like, you know, but you gotta eat. You gotta like pay. You gotta pay your bills. You gotta set up your family. So I'm happy for that. I guess the negative part would be like you said, all these new surfers. I heard a report. There's like 1.5 million new surfers domestically or something like that. Wow. I don't know if it was globally or domestically, but yeah, I heard $1.5 million. And I mean, I can see just around here. I mean, you've probably seen it. Like,
oh, that's crazy. But you still can find an empty day here and there.
There you go.
So
what I was getting at is, yeah, it's a lot more crowded, and you have a lot more people like not knowing what they're doing, and you all paddling out together on soft tops, and it's like one of those things where you're like, are you going to be that guy, or you're just going to move down the beach? You know what I'm saying? You got to pick and choose your battles. So we're selling more boards. It's more crowded. I still surf every day. My whole family surfs. So yeah, I weigh that like, man, it's fucking crowded.
Let's touch on that.
Okay.
Surf every day. Do you surf every day because you feel like you need to? And
it's just a habit. Like I haven't been. Okay, I had COVID, so I didn't surf for like I haven't surfed. I had COVID for 2.5 weeks, kicked the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And then that was during that swell, and I haven't surfed. I surfed twice since I got better.
Did it feel good to take a little time off?
You know what it did? I was working on projects and stuff I have been putting off, reading a lot more. Cool. But I admit, like it's so in my blood of me just going to the beach and getting in the water, even if I surf shitty or shitty, just to start my day. That by a week into COVID, I was really missing it. It's the most time I spent at my house since I bought the place in 2002. So I've never been more. Yeah, I'm just moving always. Like I'm always doing this or doing that or So I tripped. By the second week, I was starting to lose it. So it's something I know at this day and age I need to do. Even though like there's weeks where I surf twice during the week, and on the weekend I'll surf with the family, but rarely a week goes by that I don't get in the water. So when COVID hit me, it kicked the shit out of me mentally, physically, everything.
And then what about? So you're in the cover of a surfer magazine.
Right.
It's gone.
Right.
Pretty much all print surf magazines.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Is there? Maybe there's some little one around. I don't even know.
No, it's all like digital stuff.
So what about social media versus the magazine and surfing?
I mean, so going back in like a double-edged sword situation where like as a business, we spent thousands of dollars. I remember one year we spent like $18,000 to advertise with Transworld for chemistry, right? Right. So that's a huge chunk of it.
That's a lot.
Right. A lot of money. And especially a young company that we put a lot on the line at that time to build this company up. And nowadays, you have your Instagram and it's for free, and we could see directly what we're getting off there. We're engaging with our customers. When we did print, it was a gray area. We didn't know people were buying the boards because of it, or even coming to us or calling us because of that. So as a business, social media is way better. As like a consumer or a surfer, print is you can't. I mean, it's like it's a lost art. It's like not a lost art, but it's something that like is like lost in like a daily routine of a surfer, like coming home at night or in the morning, like sitting there reading your surf magazine.
I studied them.
Yeah, me too. Having a coffee or having a glass of wine at night, reading it, like I loved it. So as that surfer, it's missing for sure. And then as a business owner, I don't give two shits about advertising that damn. Ain't no more print. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
so
interesting.
Yeah.
And then
gotta look at it from both. I try to look always at things like different views on things.
So most of the things we've touched on. The last thing I kind of want to talk, and I kind of talked to you kind of about my son and whatever, the new generation of like surfboard shapers or makers.
Right.
Is there anybody out there?
There's a ton. Everybody's shaping now. I mean, you know how many people come in here?
Though? Like
you know how many people come in? This is what happens here. So when people want to come here to get a job, the kids show up and they go, they're like, I would like to get a job.
Yeah.
In 95% of them, they want to shape. So.
Right. They had that conversation right off the bat?
And they're like, I want to shape. Can I come mentor under you? Or like ask Willie, can I watch Jason? Or I want to start shaping. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. It's like,
you got to work your way up.
You got to work your way up,
Sweeping floors?
And there's like, and everybody that I do know that is a good young shaper right now started that way. Like Micah Butts, right? He swept floors, he hot coated, and now he's building his board start to finish, and he does an awesome job. Ryan Birch. He's another one that like he worked his way up, Did he? I don't know if he worked in factories and stuff, but he put in some time shaping boards. It wasn't like he just like one day like, oh, okay, I'm a super shaper,
So I knew Cyrus Sutton from like way back at Seal Beach, and so I went to the movie. And that's the first time I ever heard Ryan Birch.
Okay.
And now he's like a household name.
Right.
And premier shaper.
Right.
Yes,
right. And he's across the street in our old place.
Oh, is he?
So he shaped. So that was our old place that he shaped there with us. And then when we moved out, he took that over when we moved across the street. So it's funny because we're all kind of. If you talk to any one of us, we're all kind of connected. It's like we're a core group that doesn't talk every day, but we all have like roots or ties together somehow, some way. So at least the guys are really doing it,
Yeah. So I just interviewed Rusty Whitlock, and long story short is I asked him a question about like competition and other shapers, especially there's so many of you guys here.
Yeah, there is.
And he's like, it's really not for him. This is his quote. He said it's more like a brotherhood.
Right.
Like we're all just kind of basically what you said.
Right. I think.
And I thought that was interesting from an outsider perspective. I'm thinking like, dude, I don't want no one in my neighborhood.
Well, I think there's that competitive edge in every one of us, and if they say no, they're lying because you don't want to be shit at anything you do.
Right.
So, but I think it drives all of us here to be better, and I think the shapers around here are some of the best in the world because of that. We're so close, and there's this shit talking behind each other's backs, like that guy sucks or this. You hear it, you're like, what do you say? Then you're gonna try harder, glassing, fucking shaping, whatever. Like there's been so much of that, even though we are really all buddies. You get us around some beers and go on a trip or get away from this valley, like we're buddies at the beach when we're surfing. But when we're doing stuff, there's shit talking, and I think what it does though, it really makes us all try harder around here to do a damn good job because we're actually building a lot of these boards to show how good we are to the other guy doing it, not to our customer, because our customer doesn't know like the little details that these guys, when they see our glass jobs, they're like,
they recognize.
Oh, this guy hit the lap here, or there's a bunch of air in the fin, like stuff you guys wouldn't see. The shit we're doing around here, so these guys don't talk shit all the way around, you know. So yeah,
that's rad though.
It is rad, and it I think it motivates a lot of us around here, you know, that there is a lot of talent around here, you know, and talent in the fact that we do bounce ideas off each other and talk about stuff and what we're using and materials and you know that type of stuff too.
And then Oceanside, like where else? I mean. Huntington, there's some shapers. It's Costa Mesa, probably some.
Right.
But not as many as here, I don't believe.
Yeah, to be honest, I hear like those little hubs and stuff, like who's up in those things, and I don't know like the ratio compared to how many guys are there to here, but there's a lot here.
You ever drive up there and just swing through there?
There's less now than there was. Like a lot of the factories that went out of business prior to COVID, because the surf industry was having a hard time, you know, 3-4 years since 2008. Okay. So a lot of companies went out of business. So I think there's less now than there was.
Where do you think the surf industry is going? So this is a question I didn't have planned.
Yeah.
But like clothing companies are getting bought out.
Right.
I mean,
I think it's a time for in our surf industry. I think clothing has always kind of reigned supreme in the fact that like people look to them to like, oh, what are they doing? That's the next move, and that's what we're going to follow and copy.
Right.
And this is where the money's coming from, and this is what everybody wants to gravitate towards. I think they're taking a back seat. They're all like, you know, corporately owned. The manufactured overseas. If you're like kind of getting wind, like I don't want this crap out of China. I want something, you know. Right. And I think it's time. Like we finally slowly made up to like the hard goods. Were like people want to have fun. They don't give a shit. They don't care what their flannel, what they're wearing. They're like, I want a nice board. I might want 2 boards. Or like, fuck it. I want a quiver of boards. I want some good fins. I want a nice ass wetsuit that keeps me warm.
Yep.
And I think COVID did that because it put things in perspective for people, like shit that matters, family, friends, and taking care of yourself. Because a lot of people are getting sick, a lot of people are losing people, which has been a very fucking sad time in in America, in the world. So I think surfboards brings that much joy. Even going back to our first, you know, what we first started talking about being a kid, when you started like that feeling of, you know, you that doesn't go away. Like you feeling like you're a kid, like. That first time you caught those waves, you know, it's like you still to this day, like a guy getting a brand new board, it brings him back to that Grom hood.
Yeah, for sure. For me.
I think everybody, even me, like I'm around these damn boards all day long. When I get a new board, I'm in there, put my traction on, you know, taking it home, put my beads on it, and I'm around, like I said, hundreds of boards daily, you know, so that doesn't go away. So going back into that, I think people like putting everything in perspective, like, hey, what matters, what makes me happy? You know, family, friends, and the guys that enjoyed surf, like that have surfed or used to surf, that are now surfing, and they're like, this shit makes me feel like a kid. And this is a fountain. You've probably heard before, it's a fountain of youth. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And like going back to the other question you asked me about, like, you know, do I surf daily? And that's one of the reasons, because it makes me feel good. You know, I don't care what's going on, but after I get out of the water, shitty good session, I fucking feel good.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what brings us a lot back, you know, back to it. So it's a good time to being a surfboard builder or making fins, or, you know, you can't even get a wetsuit. I heard the wetsuits are sold out a lot of places. I know, I mean, there might have been restocked, but I mean, people are like, we can't get fins. You know,
firsthand, I know it's
thin.
It's thin.
Yeah. So, and then with going back into COVID, you know, the last year where people didn't know what to do, their lives were turned upside down. So they wanted to like experience something new. They're like, man, I don't know what's happening, but I want to try something new. Surfing was, once they opened the beaches, like, we could surf.
Yeah.
We could ride bikes. And I think once people start surfing, and this year we've seen so many customers come in, and they're like, yeah, this is the first time I've been on, a wave storm, or I've been on one of those soft tops, and how, walk me through this. And we've never had that type of customer before. I can't even count on my hands. I don't even know really. I mean, I had to pull up the number of like our first time customers, but we walked a lot of people through their first custom.
We're going to wrap this interview up with 2 more questions. Like, every time I talk to you, I got another question. But are these guys going to be lifers, you think? How do you feel about that? Or is this a 2-year deal?
Well, I think they start. Okay, well, this is what I think. I think they're, if they made it through this winter, they surfed in the summer when it was warm and easy. Right. And if they actually kept going through the winter, which is probably the hardest time to be a surfer in California if you're new, because it's cold and waves are harder, and and it's a lot of the high tides, and it's just not as friendly. And if they made it through that, I think they're going to have the bug forever. Yeah, for sure.
Do you think you can get the bug at 30?
Oh, yeah. Well,
really? I don't think so, but okay.
You mean like fall in love with it?
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen it.
When they're by their
no, I mean, here's the thing. That's what I always try to explain to people.
Like they see,
people come here
like Lucas or I don't know.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing.
Katie, and then in 3 years they progress so far.
You'll never
have to start
be
young, correct?
You got to start young.
Yeah.
I've never seen like people like surf like pro status when they started at 30, and a lot of people that age when they do start surfing later on. They have a different, their mentality is different. They come in here and they think what I do is going to make them get to that level. Doing air. The guys are talking to me like, they're like, yeah, I started surfing last year, but I really want to do air reverses and this. I'm like, back of my head, I'm like, you're not going to do an air reverse. But I'm like, yeah, buddy, well. And you can't lie to them, but you're just like, I'm going to try to make you aboard the surf. They come here making what I make them, they're hoping what I make them makes them surf better and better and better and better. Where I think they'll get to a level. Doable. Yeah, they'll get to a level where they'll be doing cutbacks and some floaters, but they're never going to blow tail. They might do a little blow tail. 40, you start surfing at 40, probably not. Maybe 30. Yeah, it's hard. It's reflex, memory. It's like, I think if you don't get that young, you just don't have that time, and your body at that age doesn't know how to learn that.
And even motivation and drive.
That too. Because life's always in the way. If you got kids, money, girlfriends, whatnot.
But your body's just not the same at 30.
Right. 100%.
Yeah, thank you for answering that. And then last thing, etiquette in the water with all these newbies.
Etiquette.
Newbies.
I think there's more of like I know you've interviewed Junebug, and it's like he was a guy that was around going back in those early '90s that he was hung around with a tough group of guys, and there was a lot more etiquette and respect in the water. He's back, and he's been kind of bringing a little bit more of that to the water, and a couple other people too, where I think there's some of that's really needed, because it, not in a mean way, but in a structured way, like, hey, this is what you do and you don't do. Like the other day, and I try to stay out of that too, unless a guy really knows what he's doing. If he's burning, he knows what he's doing, so like you got to tell him. But if it's somebody that just started, you kind of got to just like give him, give him the information, like, hey, you don't do that. Like this other day at the pier, this guy was ditching a soft top right in front of me, and I just told the dude, I go, hold on to it, turtle dive, just flip over. And he looked at me and he was like, oh, like this, and he needed help, and he accepted what I told him. I'm like, yeah, and I just kept talking to him like, you do this. I go, don't ditch your board. Yeah. So I think educate the people.
You go either way though, 50-50.
Yeah, or just paddle. If people are pissing you off, just paddle down the beach or go in. Like, don't let it ruin your day, because there's been so many days where I got heated about something and it ruined my day.
Yeah. And taking it home with you.
Take it home, or I take it to work, and it's like it ain't worth it, because there's always gonna be that next day, and it's oceanside, like it's
Yeah.
And you can't really, someone's gonna unless they really know what they're doing and they burn you that bad.
Yeah, I've been asking that question a lot lately, because everyone has.
What's everybody saying about it?
I think the funniest one is I interviewed Denny Alberg, and he's 74.
Right.
He's been serving like Rincon and
you're telling me about that. Yeah.
For 60 years, right? And we had a little talk, and he was kind of sarcastic, like under his breath, but he's like, sometimes the waves coming and someone's on it, I gotta go.
Right. And I think, and you know what? I think when you get past that age, there's like a threshold where you're just like, I don't give a fuck. And when someone's gonna fight an old man, like, I'm gonna probably be that way, and probably you'll be that way too. Like, fuck these kids. They kind of did it to us. I remember being a kid, and the older guys would be so grumpy, and a lot of them stopped surfing. And I see them this day, and I'll still rap out with them, and they're the coolest dudes on land, but they were fucking dicks in the water.
Yeah.
And it's pretty funny. Like Yeah, it comes to that point where you get, you have your ball and you got some grays, and it's like, I don't even care anymore. You're like, you're a kid, I don't care how good you surf. Like, I'm out here, I'm gonna get a couple waves. Don't paddle around me. That's a problem with the etiquette. It's the kids that know what they're doing, and they paddle around the old folk. Like, it's like, wait your turn. Like,
so I'm not going to say the kid's name,
right.
but there's this little kid I used to take to the beach that was way younger than Braden, but he needed a ride.
Right.
And I didn't see him for a couple of years. And he burned me like twice on Northside, and he surfs good.
Right.
But he's anyhow. So finally I had to paddle up to him, and I'm like, hey, bro, you know who I am? Yeah, your Braden's dad. I'm like, dude, don't take off in front of me again. Like, I used to give you a ride.
Did he talk back to you?
No.
That's good.
After he realized
At least he didn't talk back.
He
These kids will talk back and talk shit.
Yeah,
and then you look at the parents like, man, because I think a lot of parents now
doesn't surf.
Yeah, they don't surf, or the parents just tell them like, go out there and that you're a teacher, because they're like, oh, go do what you want. Like, you're a kid, go burn those guys, go get as much waves.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And it is ridiculous. So,
Any last words from Jason Bennett? And thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Last words, I just, just support local. It really makes in every sense of business. It really makes.
Do you want them coming in here?
Here, surf ride. We direct a lot of people to surf ride. If they want to work on a custom, they come directly here. But just support everything local, because it makes our community really thrive when we do. And it brings us closer together, because it's like, oh, so and so does this or so and so does that, and it makes us all tighter and as one unit. And it makes, I think, the community as Oceanside stronger as one when we start doing that. And there's enough of companies around here that you don't need to go anywhere else. You don't need to buy shit from. No. I can make a board just as good as any of those boards you see. You don't need to go buy stuff from overseas or buy something because you think that guy surfs good is going to make you surf good. Mm-hmm. Across the street, there's 5-6 different shapers that'll make you board just as good as I'll make you. And I think supporting local is the wave of around here is very vital, because this town is starting to change a lot, of a lot more money coming in here, and a lot more people from out of town are coming in, and they're trying to they see opportunity.
There's a lot. And there's a lot of opportunity.
There's a lot of opportunists. They'll tell you otherwise, but you can see through it all. I've seen it, because I've been here. I haven't left this town. I've seen it slowly get where it is, and it's going to get worse unless we are all strong in the sense of how we purchase and how we communicate with each other and work together.
Right. Yeah.
With everything going on worldly, and with the pandemic, I think it's I think everybody should be really appreciative that that if you're around and you're healthy, that you should be stoked and pass that on. Like, try to help people out, that are in need of help. Don't just always try to take. Give a little bit, and I think that goes a long way. I think and I try. I don't always do it, but I try to tell myself, like, if things are good, like, try to give at that time, and even if things are bad, like, try to give and help and whatnot. And I think in the water, in surfing and in just life, I think things, you can't change politics, but you can change community, you can change neighborhoods, you can change friends by just words and by small actions. Everybody gets all year long. Everybody's coming in here talking politics, this, that, and all they're doing is it's a bunch of fucking rhetoric. They're hearing from the news and they're regurgitating a bunch of horse shit. And I got so sick of it. I'm like, you can't change all this shit, but you can change stuff locally, community. Yeah. So small things with your friends, family, how you speak, how you act is how you're going to make change. So I don't want to hear about your horse shit. All that, it was bad last year. All that was going on through the pandemic and the presidential race, and I got really sick. A lot of friends, lost friends over shit and arguments. It was a bummer, Not really, just more me not wanting to be around those people because of the horse shit they're saying. Okay. But so that's my final words. It's like
heavy words. The truth. The truth.
I just think is like people all just. I'm always saying it because I heard it so much. This is like a clubhouse. People come in here and they just like to give us their 2 cents a lot. And I'm open ears, but I got pretty sick of it. And it's like I got to the point where I'm like, man, how's your home life? What are you doing? Yeah. You're rich. You got that much money? People like to tell me. A lot of people tell me how much money they got or this. Yeah. Well, what are you doing with that money? Are you doing anything? I'm sorry, I'm going down a whole different path. But yeah, what are you doing with it? Oh, you got this, you got that. I don't give a shit. Are you helping? Are you what do you do with that? Are you just stockpiling for you? Yeah. So I think if people. Like going back to last words, just try to small change, because that will be the big change.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason, so much.
Yeah, man.
All right. If you like this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe. And new music is brought to you by Sal Pedroza. Thanks, Sal. Also brought to you by quiverbuilder.com, an online community where you buy, sell, surf for your next magic board. And I'll see you in the lineup. Hey, you guys, Endless Summer box set. This thing is legit. It's authentic, numbered certificate in it. It has a 5-frame film strip from the original print. You will literally own a piece of history. It has a specially minted bronze medallion. Dude, that thing's sick. Okay, there's so much more here. Go to the show notes. There's a link on there. Go check this piece of history out. This thing's rad. Seriously. Smithsonian American History Museum has it. It took 4 years of research with 3.5 in production, all hand assembled. This thing's rad. So much to this awesome box set. Remastered DVD, sharper images than the original film, but dude, this thing's so sick. Link in the show notes.